Welcome to part 1 of JavaScript programming from introduction to application. I'm your host, Wale Adeleye, and I'll be taking you through the journey of becoming a JavaScript expert. At the time of this recording, I'm a senior developer at a company called Agile Thought located in Tampa, Florida. Just so you know, we'll start really slow and gradually work our way up to developing real applications. So I will encourage you to stick around to the end of this course. I would like to give you a very brief roadmap to the JavaScript programming journey we'll be taking together. I'll start by introducing you to different building blocks of developing a JavaScript application. And at the end of the part 1 of this course, you will learn how to tie all the pieces together by developing a simple web-based calculator. So the things that you would need for this course, obviously you need your browser, you need a text editor, and you need a basic knowledge of HTML. So I expect you to know what is the HTML and how this HTML document is structured. By watching this video, I believe you have an idea of what JavaScript can do for you. So I'm just going to say JavaScript is a programming language of the web. JavaScript brings life to web pages and facilitates user interactions that would otherwise be missing on the web. And for developers, the good part is that apart from your browser, you don't even need to install any special application to develop or run JavaScript programs. And if you want to know more about JavaScript, there are tons of resources online. And a good place to start is w3school.com. That will help you ramp up your knowledge about JavaScript fundamentals. Variables. A variable is simply a symbolic name acting as a reference to a piece of information. So what does that mean? Let's see an example. In these examples, we declare a variable, we say var. That's how you declare a variable in JavaScript, and you call it name. That's the name of the variable. And the second one, we have age, var age, and we're assigning 50 to that age. So age is the name of the variable, and the 50 is the information, or call it data, that age is referencing. So the same goes for amount. Amount is the name of the variable, and is referencing this data, 50.02. And this is another variable, is female. We call it is female and say it's true. And look at a variable name here. We declare it without assigning any value to it. So now here we are assigning the value John to it. So we call them variables because the data they reference can vary or change over the course of the program. That is, once a value is assigned to a variable, you can change it as you please in your program. I will demonstrate this with examples later. So usually variables are given names that describe the data that they reference. For example, you have this variable name, member, tag number, and it's referencing this data. Otherwise, if we didn't give this name to this data doesn't make any sense to anybody. But having this name, it makes sense to us, and we know exactly what we're dealing with when we see, this variable name. In JavaScript, the most common convention for naming variables is what we call camel casing. That is, variable names start with a lowercase letter, and if there are more than one word in the variable name, the subsequent words after the first start with uppercase letter. This is just a good example of a camel casing. You start the very first word in the whole variable name by a lowercase letter, and the subsequent word, the word that follows the first one, it takes a uppercase, starts with uppercase letter, and just like that. So if you look at it, it looks kind of like a camel. It goes like that in like a wave. You see a camel, you have like long neck, and it comes down, and it has a the back that is high. So this is just an example of a camel casing, and this is the convention that is very popular in JavaScript. So let's take a quick example of how to create variables, how to assign values to them. So I'm gonna take you into Chrome. So that's a browser that I'm going to be using. So Chrome has what they call developer tool. So to get into the developer tool, all you need to do is just right click. You can do F12 or you can right click and click on inspect element. So once you're there, you have all those tabs, but the one that we are really concerned with, the one we'll be looking into today, is the console. We go into the console, and when you want to declare a variable, so in the console you can actually run your JavaScript code here. Whatever JavaScript code, it runs fine here. So this is a very good way to test if something you're writing makes sense. So today we're just going to use this to test. Later on we'll actually write our JavaScript code in a JavaScript file, but here today we're going to be using the console to test what we're doing. So we have a variable name and we call it John. So if you want we call name, it gives us John. So now we don't have to remember what our name is. So the name, once we call name, it gives us what is assigned to name. And if we change the name, we can do name equals, we can change the name to something else like Peter. And we call name. Now it's Peter. It's no more John. So we can do the same thing for numbers. Say variable age equals 60, and we call age gives us 60. So that's how to use your variables. So I'm gonna remind you that just know you can declare a variable by just saying var and the name of the variable, and you can choose to assign a value to it while you're declaring it. On the same line, you can assign a value to that name, variable name, or you can choose not to. And assign value to your variable, and you can change the value of your variable. And if you want a value in the variable, you can simply just call that variable and it returns that value for you. So one last thing though, not all characters are allowed in a variable name. So be cautious when you use special characters in your variable names. So let us, I'll show you some invalid variable names, and you can tell from here it's going to, give you errors. So I'm going to say variable 2. I'm starting the variable name with 2 and say 2 age equals 78. And see what I get. It's an error. So it's telling me unexpected token illegal. So using 2, starting a variable name with a number is illegal in JavaScript. And you can even try to put special characters in your variable name, then you get errors for most part. You cannot even put a space in your variable name. So I'm trying to do, if I do age me equals 45, I get an error because you cannot put a space in your variable name. So if you want to know more about this, I will encourage you to research, see what characters you can use and the ones that you cannot use. But one thing that is off limit is all keywords. All the keywords in JavaScript, you cannot use them as a variable. For example, you cannot use if as a variable name. You cannot use else as a variable name. But as we go on, you will get familiar with all those keywords. So I will encourage you, don't use keywords in your variable names. And if you try to do that, JavaScript is going to tell you that you're doing something wrong. Data types. Data type is simply the classification of data items that are meaningful and are used in your programming environment. Every high-level programming language has data types. So in JavaScript, we have these data types as listed here. We have string, we have number, we have Boolean, object, and function. For a string, you saw an example when we had a variable. and a variable called name, and we assign John to it. John is a string. In JavaScript, anything you put within double quotes or even single quotes are strings. And for a number, this is a no-brainer. Number is just any number. It could be negative number, it could be positive number, it could be a decimal number. So any number here goes into this category. And for Boolean, it's just a way to classify true or false kind of data. If you have a data that just either true or false, that takes Boolean. And for object and function, I'm going to pass on those for now. I will be talking about those later with examples. But now we just concentrate on string, number, and Boolean. Well, let's quickly go to Chrome just to see examples of how to work with these data types and how you can even tell what data type you're working with. So here we are on the Chrome Developer Tool. So for a variable, you can declare a variable, say var my name, and I assign a variable, a value to my name, say Wally, that's my name, and I do that. If I call my name, it gives me the value in it. It gives me a string, which is Wally. So I could do the same thing, just I can do var my name, and I can do in double quotes the same thing, and it works just fine. Wally, and I can call Wally. I get that. And if I want to know what data type I'm dealing with in JavaScript, all you need to do is type of and put the variable name, my name, and enter. So it tells you the data type for this variable is a string. And let's go to numbers. Let's do variable num equals 67, and call num gives you 67. And you want to know what data type you're dealing with. You type of num, it gives you number. So for Boolean, I'm going to clear this board right now so we can just start from scratch. For Boolean, we can do var is good, and we say that's true. We call is good. It gives us true. Now to check the data type, we do type of is good. It gives us Boolean. So I'll encourage us to focus more on these data types. As we go on, we'll be using them in our programming. So now we've talked about string, numbers, and Boolean. So we'll be looking into objects and functions later. Operators. Operators are simply mathematical symbols used by JavaScript to create mathematical or logical expressions. Here I've grouped them into different categories, and the fourth category we're dealing with is going to be the arithmetic operators. These arithmetic operators are just for your mathematical expressions. So if you want to do 2 plus 2, the plus there, this is what you use. And if you want to do 3 minus 2, you use this minus. And if you want to do 3 divided by, you use a slash for the division, and you use asterisk for your multiplication. Here we have a modulus. It's the percentage sign. So we call it modulus. And what it does is not percentage as you know it. It actually does, when you divide a number by another number, this sign will return to you the remainder of that division. So if you divide 3 by 2, for example, and you use modulus, say 3 modulus 2, what you get back is going to be 1. That's the remainder when you divide 3 by 2. And the plus plus sign is for increment. If you have a variable that has a value, a numerical value, and you do that variable plus plus, what it does, it increments the value of that variable by 1. And the minus minus works the other way. It reduces the value by 1. Well, let's go into examples and see how this works. So I told you about modulus. I'm going to show you an example of a modulus, like we do 32 modulus 3. And you get 2. So when you divide 32 by 3, the remainder is going to be 2. So let's try plus plus. If I have a variable called age, and I have 56 assigned to it, I call my age, the value is 56, and I do age plus plus. It gives me 56, but if I call age again, it gives me 57. That's the new value of age. But remember, we put the plus plus after our variable. We can also put the plus plus before the variable, like plus plus age, and it gives me 58. So when you put it before, it actually gives you the new value right away. But if you put it after, you're going to get a new value, in subsequent calls. So the same thing works for your minus minus. If you do age minus minus, we get 58. But if you call age again, you have 57. And if you actually do minus minus age, you get 56. So let's go into the next categories of operators. Here we have assignment operators. So you've seen how the equal to sign works. When we created a variable and we assign a value to it. So this is actually doing assignment. We have a value that we are assigning to a particular variable. So that's how the equal to sign works. But the plus equal to sign, what it does is to add the new value, whatever you have on the right, it adds that value to the value of the variable. And the minus equal to, it does the opposite. It actually removes, it subtracts that value from the value of your variable. And the slash equal to, that divides your current value by the value you have on the right. And the times equals, multiply the value of your variable by the value you have on the right. And the modulus equals, it finds the modulus of your variable and it assigns that value to your variable. So let's see examples. So I'm going to clear the screen, and I have variable age again equals 50. So that's how your equal to sign works. But if you do age plus equals 5, then age is now 55. If you do age, minus equals 10. So what we're doing right now is to subtract 10 from our current value of age, which is 55. So our value now is going to be 45. And if we do age, the slash equals 5 is going to divide our value by 5, and we get 9. So the modulus part is just to do, age modulus. Let's do 2, and we get 1. So the new value of age now is 1. So let's jump into the next groups of operators. Here we have the logical operators. What they do is actually to compare what you have on the left to what you have on the right, and gives you either true or false based on what you have on your left and your right. So the equal to sign, what it does is to compare the value on the left to the value on the right, and if they are the same, if they are equal, it's going to tell you it's true. The next one is the exclamation mark equals. So what it does is to check if what you have on the left is not equal. So when you see that sign, just know it's telling you it's not equal to the right. So what you have on the left is not equal to what you have on the right, then it's true. But if they are equal, then it tells you false. And the greater than sign tells you if what you have on the left is greater than what you have on the left, then it's true. And the less than sign, you have what is on the left. If it's less than what is on the right, it gives you true. And the same thing for greater than and equal or equal to. So this works if what you have on the left is greater than or equal to what you have on the right. And the less than or equal to what you have on the left, if it's equal to or less than what you have on the right. And this one is for negation. So when you have true and you put this one in front of it, it flips the value to false. If you have false, it changes the value to true. And when you have this one, the double pipes give you or. So it checks what you have on the left. If what you have on the left is true, or what you have on the right is true. If either is true, then it returns true. But if they are both false, then it returns false. And the ampersand, double ampersand, gives you the and. If you have on the left and what you have on the right are both true, then it returns true. If one of them is false, then it returns false. So they have to be true to return true. And this question mark colon, I will demonstrate what that one does by example. So let's jump right into the developer tool and see examples of this. So I was talking about if I have true equals true, because they're both equal, we get true. But if you have true, it's not equal true. So if what we have on the left is not equal to what we have on the right, this guy returns true. But we can see they're equal, so it's going to return false. And the greater than, if we have 5 greater than 6, we know 5 is not greater than 6, so this is going to return false. And if we say 5 is greater than or equal to 6, we know that's still not true. We still get false. And for the negation, we can try the exclamation mark and do true. It gives us false. So if I put that and false, I get true. So let's talk about the double pipe. If I have true or true, it gives me true. If I have true or false, it gives me true. If I have false or false, and I get false. So for this one to return true, either side, one has to be true. Let's clear the board and go try the and. True and true. We get true. If you have true and false, we get false. So the last one is the colon, the question mark colon. So how that works is different. Let's say we have a variable called my name. And we have a kind of like an expression. We can put the expression in the parentheses. We don't have to. You can say, I'm checking if 5 is greater than 6. I'm checking if that's true. If that's true, then give me this value. Put this value in my name. I'm going to put first. But if that expression is false, if everything that comes out of this is false, then give me second. and I run that and call my name. Sorry for that. My name. I get second. So it assigns the second value to my name because this expression is not true, it's false. So this is the sign, the question mark, and the colon separates those two values. The first value is for true and the second value is for false. The last categories of operators is the bitwise operators. The explanation of these operators is beyond the scope of this lesson. So if you are interested in knowing how they work, I will encourage you to just research them online. There are tons of resources online for you. Yeah, so this brings us to the end of lesson 1. Thanks a lot for watching this video. So in lesson 2, I'll be walking you through how to use and manipulate strings. And we'll be working directly with an HTML document instead of running our code in the console. All right, see you then. Bye.